All right. I know these people personally, so I'm going to call them out by name, but then I'm going to read some brief introductions. So come on up first, my buddy Colin Beecham here. Come on up, y'all make some noise for Colin. All right. And I will tell you all about Colin in a second. Gloria Umana is with us. Gloria, come on down. Y'all make some noise for Gloria as she comes on down. And then a very dear friend of mine, a kindred spirit, my homie right here, Marcus Hollinger. Come on up, brother. Now, let me tell you a little bit about these folks real quick as we get set up, okay? I'm just going to read. I don't need to read this, but I'm going to read it, okay? So here's a little bit what you need to know about the people who are on the panel tonight. Colin Beecham to my right, he's the co-founder and CEO of Jam for Cam, and he's the co-founder of Run Easy ATL and a world record holder, okay? So y'all make some noise one more time for Colin. And then in the middle is my literal sister. I love Gloria so much. She is the founder and executive director of the Ex Nihilo Collective. She's a visionary of Hope Booth and an internationally known communicator and spoken word artist. Can you snap it up for Gloria? All right. And then last but certainly not least, I love this man. His name is Marcus Hollinger. He is an award-winning marketer. He's the co-founder of Portrait Coffee in the West End. And he is a senior innovation director at Stanford. Okay, the Stanford. All right, y'all make some noise for Marcus too. So I would love to kick us off and just have a conversation about vision. Obviously, that's our topic tonight. And each of you have done some things so specific that I want to kind of get into the granular nuance of what you've done. And Gloria, being the lady up here, I want to be a gentleman, let you go first, okay? I want you to talk a little bit about Ex Nihilo Collective, but I also want you to talk about Hope Booth, because I don't think that out of anybody in this room who's presented, myself included, there's anyone that can really speak to the power of vision and what it looks like to create something where there's nothing for the impact of others. So if you could just open us up. You don't have to share much about yourself, but I would love to hear about the purpose behind the projects that you're working on.
Sure. Well, it's an honor to be here. I, in 2017, started a nonprofit called the Ex Nihilo Collective. Ex Nihilo is Latin for out of nothing, which is the whole heartbeat of probably why all of you are in this room today, is because you see something is missing and you want to create something to fill that void. And so the whole goal was raising up and equipping high-capacity creatives to use their creativity to transform their city. So it looked like a lot of retreats, gatherings, a lot of in-person things, and it was so much fun. Loved it. We ended up building a creatives community to about 17,000 people that lived around the world. And it was the best thing ever. And then 2020 happened, the reoccurring theme. 2020 happened and all of our events canceled and dissolved. And I just remember sitting there and I was like, well, what are we supposed to do? Just like wrap it up. Like, this is my livelihood. This is the thing I care deeply about. This is the thing I feel called to. And during that timing, our team took like a 1-month sabbatical to really think about what does forward look like. And during that timing is when I realized I think we need to make a pivot. The definition of pivot, same mission, different strategy. And so we decided we needed to make a pivot from the stage to the streets. How do we impact people where they are and use our creativity to impact people who are never going to another conference, another gathering, another event, because those no longer are happening. And during that time, I learned that the average person living on the streets goes 3 to 6 months without being looked in the eye. And I remember hearing that and thinking to myself, how is it possible that people can go this long feeling unseen? And I wanted to find a way to make hope and help free and accessible to all. And when I sat and thought about it, came up with the most unrealistic idea. And we said, what if we remodeled old telephone booths and turned it into some evidence-based, interactive, immersive experience, and that helps people connect to hope and then connect to local resources to help with their mental health? And what if we just put them in random places around the world, in prisons and hospitals and schools and street corners? And I told one person on my team, and she was like, that sounds crazy. I was like, I know, let's think about it a little bit more. So we thought on it for about 6 months. And then I finally told the entire team, and they were like, this sounds insane. I'm like, I know, we'll probably do it in like 2025. It sounds very futuristic. And then shortly after, 6 months later that year, we were debuting it in London, England, and Plywood played a really big role. We needed $5,000 more to hit our goal to actually make it to London, and we won the ideas competition, which was the last $5,000 we needed. And so since then, we've had the opportunity to impact about 450,000 people with about 35 installs around the world, and the last one being in Seoul, South Korea. And it's been the coolest honor of my life to help people with their mental health and to remind people that there's still hope and they don't have to give up.
So good, y'all. Come on. So good. Marcus, let's bounce over to you. You are so artistic, but you are also like an architect. Like you are someone who practices design thinking. You just have a really beautiful mind. I would love to hear your perspective on a practical approach to being able to architect what you see in your vision. So I'm sure there are a lot of people in the room. They're thinking about what it looks like to pivot. They're thinking about what it looks like to dream. And as someone who's very hands-on, has a really interesting and intricate creative process, I would love for you to maybe speak to what it looks like to help bring that vision to life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of talk about it in two different ways. So human-centered design thinking sort of underpin a lot of my work and some of the tools. If you look up design thinking or human-centered design, you'll come across a set of tools. Sometimes it's displayed as a recipe, but I'd encourage you not to think about it like that. So some of the tools are empathy, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And so whenever I'm working with a group of people, an individual, organization, what have you, my first blink is to be empathetic and say, let me just listen, right? I'm as a someone who's I've had success and produced results and things like that, but I always say it's got to start with listening, right? I'm not coming in to promote my ideas or what I think is right, but let me start by listening. And then the next thing I want to do is, after you've felt the embodied experience of being heard, I want to equip you with the tools to give that to the people that you seek to serve, right? We all have bias. We all have things that shape our reality that might get in the way of actually being effective in serving the people that we want to serve. So I'll give a quick story. A friend of mine, her name is Kelly Garrett Ziegler. She was leading product over at Mattel Toys. And she had a directive from one of her senior leaders that says the data is saying that kids need to be outside more, go out into the field, validate this survey, and come back and give us something beneficial. Well, Kelly, being someone that I admire, she went to homes across the U.S., and instead of forcing the issue, say, well, what are you doing to get your kids outside? She said, why don't you walk me through a day in your life? And instead of leading out of the front door, that question led her to a very surprising place, which was the bathroom. Many homes where children lived and parents were present trying to do their best led into the bathroom, which represented a moment of peace. Because if anyone here has small children, you know that all day you working with those kids and you're trying to get them to listen, you're trying to get them to calm down. But the minute you put them in the bathtub with a few of their favorite toys, peace seems to break out across the environment. And time again, Kelly noticed this pattern and she said, actually, I don't think it's about trying to get, if we're going to super serve parents with the products that we make, I don't think we need to be super preoccupied with getting people outside, which is the data, which is what the data is suggesting that we need to do. We should actually probably enhance this moment of peace, which is bath time. And that led to the novel idea of this new product line called Tub Tracks. Completely sent Mattel through the roof. Good things happened after that. But I like to share that story to say one of the most practical things that people can do if they want to super serve community is to start with empathy as a strategic tool to find out what are the pain points that the people that we want to serve are actually facing. The next thing I'd want to, and then you can kind of employ some other tools based on where you are. The other thing I like to talk to people about is start with desire. Oftentimes we unpack this triangle of desirability, feasibility, and viability. And so what feasibility typically is can we do it? Can this thing be done? Can we put a new grocery store in the West End? Can we put a Trader Joe's in the West End, right? You run the numbers, you see how many single family homes are in the area and what the return on investment might be, and you say yes. Or rather, you check with your capabilities and see if you've got the tools and things like that, and you say, yes, we can do it. Then people typically go to viability, which is it going to make some money, right? Then you look at the single-family homes, things like that, and you say, yeah, it's enough people over there, we'll get the foot traffic, it'll make money. But the last place that people typically go on that journey is desirability. Have we actually went out and asked the people in the West End, do they want a Trader Joe's, right? So oftentimes in my work, what I try to encourage people to do is to flip that over and say, start with desirability, right? Use that empathy, go out and find those pain points and imagine what would be a desired future or a desired outcome for those folks. And I promise you, if you can grab that emotion and you can grab that concept of desirability for those you seek to serve, I promise you the viability and the feasibility will follow.
That's good. That's good. Y'all can snap it up real quick for Marcus. Now, I think that that's a perfect segue to you because you've created a really beautiful community with everything that you're doing with Run Easy. And obviously, you're a social impact leader. You're a person who has taken the service leadership model and you've deployed it into this, I won't even call it like a fitness community. I think that it's just a community. It's a people where they come and like, yes, there's a fitness component, but you're intentional about the building of community and outside of the actual run itself. So I would love for you to talk about the rise of your run club, but I would also love for you to speak to the model of leadership that you've deployed in your run club too, and speak to how kind of that's been successful for you all.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I'm definitely the least qualified person on this panel by far. This is pretty incredible, but excited to be here and thank y'all for the time tonight. But yeah, as you mentioned with the run club, so we've got a run club in Atlanta called Run Easy ATL. We used to meet at Cochrane Shoals out by the Chattahoochee River in Smyrna, and we recently switched over to the Beltline. A couple of different reasons. I'll spare you of why we moved, but now we meet Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. on the Beltline. But the genesis of this run club and what came about was a desire, my own personal desire for community, of saying, you know, hey, I'm graduating from college. You come to Atlanta. I already know a lot of people, but hey, I want to grow that. I want to be able to, you know, I'm in a small group and that's great. And I see these guys a lot, but I want to be able to jump into another side of community. I want to be able to work out with these guys. I'm passionate about running. I'm an endurance athlete, so I love training for long distance events, whether it's Ironmans, 100 milers, whatever it is. I love that side of training. And so I wanted to find people that I could do that with, that I could also hang out and grab a beer with after the run, and then get close to. And so that it was a kind of like what Marcus was just hinting on. It was a desirability, not just for me, but for other people within the community that I had talked to. And so really the shaping of it was a couple friends that we had all kind of talked about this, and we were a part of another men's-only running group, and we realized when I was posting about it on my story, inviting friends of mine from Instagram, and then just through friends of friends, I was getting hit up by a lot of girls that I knew from college or locally that were saying, hey, could we come run with you guys? We don't want to run by ourselves in the morning. And so we want to run with a group of people. Could we come join you guys? And at the time, it was guys only. It had a faith and fellowship aspect to it, and so we were kind of keeping it that way. And so we broke off and did our own thing, and then included those girls that we knew. And then really it just kind of organically grew and blossomed from there. But the idea behind what we do is very simple. We just wanted to be a run club that's community focused. A lot of organizations and clubs are, in my opinion, fronts for merchandise, fronts for clothing, fronts for some sort of paid service on the back end. And really what we wanted to deliver was the service of community of, hey, you're going to come here and you're going to pay us with your time and you're going to walk away with a bag of new friends or receive community when you leave. And so that's what we try to focus on, and that's what we try to deploy in the Run Club.
Can you talk a little bit about, because this is the most fascinating part to me, if a person shows up to your Run Club, they don't necessarily know who's in charge.
Yeah, so this is by design. I think because, you know, I love what we're talking about with vision, because I think vision can get casted in a lot of different directions, and there's not always this one end goal of vision where you've got, they got the.
That's a lot of people, y'all. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. Yeah, it's great. 6 a.m. is good too. Side tangent. 6 a.m. The reason why we do 6 a.m. is because I believe that it's a filter for people that arrive at the Run Club in the morning. You have to hit your alarm early. You can't snooze it. You got to wake up. You got to be able to get there, and that creates a filter that the people that show up there in the morning have already decided to take action early. It's easy to show up to a Run Club at 6:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. Whereas if you show up at 6 a.m., you've got to go to bed on time. You've got to wake up early. You've got to, put your clothes out in the morning. You've got to drive when you're tired, make your coffee. So it creates a filter where the people that show up in the morning are have already taken action into trying to connect with other people. So they're more likely to be able to, have conversation. And similar to tonight, everybody made the decision to drive through traffic to get here and spend time. And so you see a lot of good networking connection. But to Nigel's question, yes, so we try to make it where nobody knows who's in charge, and that's intentional. This, back to the vision point, this does not have, it's reached its vision, in my opinion. It's serving its purpose. There's no need to have a leader. There's no need to have somebody that stands in front of anybody. We're not big on social media in terms of, really nice, pretty photos. I don't want people to show up at 6 a.m. thinking they've got to have makeup on or their, new coolest running shoes. And so we try to stay away from that. And so all of that's directed. And so it's really just creating an element where there's a little bit of confusion. I think confusion is good in vision. It also opens it up to people to be able to give you better ideas.
It's really good. Y'all make some noise for Colin, y'all. We have just a few minutes left, and I think that this is maybe the most important thing that we'll talk about. Each of you all have been able to articulate a vision, and everybody knows, to Matt's point, that there is what feels like a wilderness season. There looks like a lot of hurdles and boundaries that you have to overcome, and I would love for you to talk about a struggle that you've had to face and what it looked like to be on the other side of that struggle after being able to traverse the wilderness, the valley, whatever you want to refer to it as. We got a couple minutes, so I would love to, let's start with Gloria. I would love for you to just, again, tell us about a time of struggle when you were trying to articulate your vision and how you had to overcome that struggle to make sure that you got to where you wanted to be.
Sure. Well, first of all, I am young, Black, and female. As a leader, as a founder, that's the struggle in itself, but it's also the strength in itself too, with proper perspective. And so I feel like early on I had to earn people's trust, where I started to feel like I had to be a lawyer. I needed to advocate and defend myself. And I started to realize I'm actually not a lawyer. I don't need to convince anyone of anything. The right people will understand the vision and will fall into alignment. And so that is the most I get emotional thinking about it because it's the most freeing thing to come into the realization of, that I don't have to carry this pressure. I get to just carry the weight of the beauty of what I get to carry. And those who recognize it and see it, they're gonna come alongside of me. And I don't have to do this work of telling them, I promise we're gonna do it, we're changing the world. No, look at what we've done. Like, you can buy in or not. And I think that has been, it's both the struggle, but it is also the strength too. And I think you guys probably can relate to, sometimes the struggle can easily be something that will make you quit and give up, or it can be the thing that can help you persevere if you change your perspective.
Yeah. About to make me cry. That's really beautiful. Colin, let's bounce it back to you, and then Marcus, you can wrap us up. Maybe you want to talk about Jam for Cam a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we, in college, I co-founded a charity organization called Jam for Cam, where this is a photo from our event that we just had in March of this past year. We had about 12,000 people at the event. We threw a music festival.
Y'all definitely played
Athens.
Mr. Brightside at this, didn't y'all?
You would have thought, but actually, funny story, 3 of the 4 bands all covered the same exact song, which we don't see the set list when we book these bands, but it was kind of funny. So Twitter had a time with that. But no, so this is a photo from Jam for Cam. This year, it was on March 27th in downtown Athens. I founded Jam for Cam in 2018 after a fraternity brother of mine named Cameron Fearon passed away from melanoma, which is super rare, young. And so we founded the organization and had our first event in 2018, and have been growing it ever since. And I'm going to cast my vision over you guys on where I want to take this. My vision for this event since 2018, I did a TEDx talk at UGA about this, and we're still in the process of working on it. So it's 5 years in the making. I think we got 5 more years. But the vision here is I want to create the South by Southwest of the Southeast. I think Athens, Georgia is unequivocally positioned to be able to handle large crowds for both music, arts, and entertainment. And one, because of the university, they handle it 6 Saturdays a year for football games. I think that the city of Athens prides itself on its deep heritage of music and art, and they're not doing a lot to take action on that because they've got some legislation that keeps them from doing it. Part of that is Panic in the Streets. We're the first large-scale music festival permit since the late 90s in Athens. But to your question originally, that was one of the things that we had to overcome when we wanted to grow the event in 2020. For our partner, we had made a relationship with Southern Brewing Company in Athens to do our events at their facility every year. 3 months before the event, I was about to send a $50,000 check for production in our first half on one of our artists. And 2 days before I was sending that check, we got a call from the brewery that they were going bankrupt and they couldn't do the event, which was brutal. We had already started selling tickets. We had already started raising money, taking money from sponsors. And so we had to pivot. And 4 years leading up to that, I'd been working with the city of Athens begging for a permit to go into the streets. And every time they had said, no, you can't do it, you can't do it. Either we were too young as an organization or I personally was too young at the time, but they didn't give us an opportunity to get a permit. So finally, that happened, and it was actually a blessing in disguise. We went back to the city. We came in with a full set of permits. We had insurance ready to go. We had our production company ready to go. We had formed relationships in the city with a lot of business owners that were really successful, and they vouched for us and went in front of us to Downtown Development Authority, to the mayor, to the city manager, city planner, and we're able to get the permit. So that's the culmination of a long running of it. So it was a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
This is really good. Marcus, with a minute left, I would love for you, I think Gloria spoke really well to the personal part. I think Colin spoke really well to kind of like the professional project part. If you could maybe tie it together in like a hybrid way, because I think, again, you're so good at architecting and connecting dots between like the professional and the personal way to kind of break through to get to the other side of what it looks like to articulate your vision.
Yeah, I'll just tell a story about the service berry. Robin Wall Kimmerer is one of my favorite authors. She has 2 books that I know of. One is Braiding Sweetgrass, and the other one is Service Berry. Well, in the book Service Berry, she promotes this thesis that abundance is the key that unlocks flourishing, right? And so she talks about this bush that grows these service berries, and she says that it's probably one of the most delightful food sources you'll find in nature. And she talks about how this bush survives. And she says that it is through giving its gift that it actually gets its needs met, right? And so she says this bush, it gives away these berries to the birds. And the birds eat this berry and it carries it around so that more bushes can grow through the seeds. Humans come and get these berries, and they advocate for more green space and more water and things like that. And she says, if you pay attention to the service berry and the rest of natural creation, you will see that creation is getting its needs met by giving its gift. Well, when I started Brighton and Chelsea, I went out on that premise that if I put people first and decide to give of the gift of knowledge, of know-how, and investment in people, then that will come back. And you would think that paid off, at least early on, but it didn't. In the short amount of time that I went full-time in this company, I've been assaulted by a close friend. I've been abandoned in most of my closest relationships, folks that I felt like I invested in when I was a hotshot music executive, or when folks find out I was getting on planes 3 or 4 times a year to go lead executive education at Stanford University. But the minute I said I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to go out and try to build my next venture on giving and promoting human flourishing, whether that has an immediate return on investment or not, I started to experience all of the most painful adversity I'd ever experienced in my life. But I'm still holding on to that belief that by giving my gift, I will get my needs met. And slowly but surely, I'm starting to see that through some of the community that we've been giving, some of the commitment to radically articulate what it is that we're doing to stakeholders, to partners, to participation in accelerator programs and things like that. So the last thing I would say is I think you've got to have belief in something bigger than yourself. You've got to be prepared to deal with the loneliness and the setbacks that come along with that.
Yeah. Marcus Hollinger, Gloria Umana, Colin Beecham, y'all. Thank you so much.